from Ritter High School. Please come up. The floor is yours. Oh, she also sent us a very nice video. Used to get a thank you letter, but it was an email. I'll forward that today as well. So we have her in person. So we have a big center.
It's even better.
Even better, yes. Emily was not in my group, by the way. She was, oh, Emily.
Yes.
Whose team took first place?
Huh.
Whose team took first place?
Yes!
Yes!
Unfortunately, we did not
Boy,
win.
you were set up. for
Our
that.
I know.
Oh, wow. How could you
Still
say
didn't get
that?
one.
First time.
Must have been taken.
I know. See the respect. I have more respect.
First time you had a win.
Okay,
First time
Robbie.
I had a winning team and I had a rookie partner. Who probably did,
So was the kid.
so was the kid. No, no, it was the kids. I will fully admit it was the kids. Because the first 2 hours we can't say it. Ellen, you're stealing your thunder.
It's all good. All right, so anyway, my name's Emily Flagg, like you said. I'm from Hartford High School. I'm an incoming senior, so I'm almost done. Woo. I went to RYLA in the July session, which was pretty lit. It was pretty cool. I made a lot of friends. I had a really good time. We were at ECM. Some things. So this is my little notebook that we got, containing all the fun things that we got to learn. We had all these fun icebreakers that we got to do with my team. One of my favorites of that we got to do was it was like across the river of acid is what they called it. And they gave us these bits of wood that we had to walk across, but we couldn't take any parts of our body. We always had to have something touching the wood. So whether it was our hand or our foot, we had to always be touching the wood. And if you stepped off, the wood would get thrown out and we couldn't use it anymore. We all had 9 pieces and we failed a few times. We kept on having people. It was definitely a learning experience in communication because we had a lot of people who would forget that they had to keep something on the brick. I'm guilty of that myself, and would run off, and then everybody would be like, wait a second, there's 3 other people who still have to get across. And we're like, uh-oh. But yeah, it was a fun learning experience. I definitely learned how to communicate better, which honestly, much needed skill, very needed. Some other things that we did, I have them here somewhere. We learned about our true colors. So it's a personality thing that we got to do. And there's 4 colors. It was right here somewhere. Yeah, it was right. So we had green, orange, gold, and blue. I was a primary blue and a secondary gold. And kind of what all those mean is the green is more like intellectual, more based on like facts and logic kind of deal. The gold is more like organization, having a plan, stuff like that. The orange is more like kind of spontaneous, kind of like I'm just gonna do what I want to do, have fun, have a good time. And then the blue was more kind of go with the flow, more emotion based, stuff like that. And so kind of makes sense that these are mine. And I thought that was fun. And I thought it was really interesting too, because I've seen a lot of personality matrices, and I thought that made a lot of sense, which some of them really don't. Some other things that we did, we also got to, other than all the fun team building things that we got to do, we also, like he said, we had a fun little party, which was definitely it was a great culmination of the whole thing, but also it was a great opportunity to like actually get to have more concentrated socializing with all my new friends that I had made. We danced, we did all this fun stuff. I learned new dances that I did not know, and that was super fun. And we got a bedtime story at the end, which was, it was very interesting. If you remember that, I was yelling at him because I thought the bedtime story was actually very sad ending and not a happy ending. And I was like, no, please. The story was like this guy who didn't really have any friends, and then like he got a letter that was like, somebody loves you, and then he was like, I'm gonna get back to my community, and then the mailman was like, that was the wrong address, and then they fixed it all at the end, and I was like, once he said it was the wrong address, I'm like, you're joking, right? No, that cannot be the wrong address. Somebody loves him. And yeah, in the end, it was a very happy ending, and everybody was like, we love you, and they gave me chocolates, and it was the next day.
What happened to the gentleman at the end of the story, according to Rich? what he said happened? Walk down the steps, say,
We walked down the steps and all these people were out on this front lawn and they were all like, "We love you." I think his name was Mr. Hatch.
Mr. Hatch.
"We love you, Mr. Hatch. You're awesome." And then they gave him like candies and hugs and stuff and it was very nice and me. But at first I was like, that's not gonna end well. It was like kind of plot twist.
And Rich said at the very end, he said, and Mr. Hatch had a heart attack and died.
I tried to forget that part. I tried to.
I thought that the four kids in front were gonna jump up and strangle him.
At least we got to talk with the author now because that was
Just like this.
not called for.
Just like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what other fun things did we do? One of the things I think impacted me the most was the Amazing Race. So it was kind of like first it was like little activities that we had to do. Like we had to do this with our team and it was more team building based. And then more towards the end of it, we had to make a presentation around some sort of service project and kind of plan it out, like kind of make like a pitch almost for it. And my group, we spent a while trying to figure out what we were doing. And I think it was definitely an education in the real life application of like how to plan things, first of all, because we were having a lot of trouble figuring out what we were gonna do and how exactly to do, pardon me, how exactly to do it, how we were supposed to get publicity for it, how we were supposed to get volunteers, stuff like that, supplies. And it was definitely an education in how that works, but also it was definitely, like I said, throughout all of this, it was definitely an education in how to communicate better with people, because there were certain points where we were screaming at each other and throwing things at each other, and that was not fun. And then we finally figured out, okay, maybe this isn't the best course of action. How about we just stop, lay everything out, and then let's go from there. And we ended up coming up with a pretty good presentation, in my opinion. We had a pretty fun time doing it. We presented it, everything went smoothly, and we made a budget and all that good stuff, and I was very proud of it in the end. And then kind of at the end of this whole academy thing, something that I really wanted to do after was I knew that I really wanted to help people, but I didn't realize how many things were just kind of at my fingertips. Like even just in this little booklet here, we have all these, we have all these resources of things that we can reach out to, websites, all these other Rotary Club resources that we can do for study abroad, other type, how to set up our own projects if we want to go out and do it. And I didn't realize how many of these were just such close access. I thought it was like this whole process you had to go through, and then you could actually start maybe thinking about doing it. And I think it just made me feel like, okay, helping people is a lot closer than I thought it was. And now I feel like I've always loved helping people, and now I feel like I knew it was my calling, and I feel like now after this especially, it 100% is, and I cannot wait to go help people in the world. I don't know exactly how yet, but I just hope to help people. So thank you guys for having me.
Questions?
Explain the wood. Was it a piece of wood, a plank, a board, or?
It was like a 4x4 tiny little piece of wood that we had to step on. And it was kind of like, if you've ever been like in like those playgrounds with like the stepping stone things that like go up on a rise, it's like that, but they're all on the ground. And we had to like have one hand on one, move our foot, do that, and then do that again.
Were there different pieces of wood in different places?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
and we could put them down. We were kind of like casting it to make a path, and then we all had to walk across it.
Cool. Wow. What do you think? Think they should try to make
I
that
would like to see how you guys do with that.
Probably can't bend over.
We'll give you guys all pieces of wood just in case. Yes.
What was the business model that you and your group come up with?
So we ended up, so we were doing a river cleanup thing, and then the kind of the model that we came up with, we pretty much decided, but so we decided that we needed some money to get like supplies, like trash bags and stuff like that, or we needed to find a sponsor for it, and we ended up finding one that we could use hypothetically, which was the Missouri Stream Team, because they provide gloves and trash bags and stuff like that, so you can clean up a river or a stream or any type of body of water, just you have to put the trash cans in there. They also like offer like the grabbers that you find at the dollar store, stuff like that. And so we figured that would help, and then we also needed to get a lot of volunteers. So it was a lot of, we tried our best to minimize the amount of money we would need and maximize the amount of people we would need. Because not only do people get service hours, but also you're giving back to your community.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And, oh, I'm sorry,
You know.
Go ahead.
as a senior, are you required to do a service project at Parkway?
No,
No? Oh,
but I am in the middle of doing lots of service hours right now. I currently volunteer in a hospice facility and I visit some of the patients.
So, since you're a first student from Parkway, North, who picked you, and how did you know that person through some leadership stuff at school? And how would you what would you recommend about this program going forward?
Okay, so the person who recommended me was my math and coding teacher, Mr. Alonso. He was my math teacher my freshman year, and then my junior year, this past year, he was my coding teacher for computer science. And I really enjoyed his classes, and I got to have some leadership moments in there where we would like present stuff and we would be in little groups and stuff. And he was like, "You'd be perfect for this. You want to do it?" And I was like, "Sure, this seems like a cool opportunity." So that's why I went to RYLA. And
When did he approach you with that?
he approached me with that, I think sometime before like spring break-ish that time. I don't remember exactly, but there's an email out there that has the dates.
It was early March, and Matt Alonso, the teacher she's talking about, has been one of the educator counselors
Right.
at RYLA for many years. He's probably done 8 or 10 RYLAs. So,
And then,
Have there been other Parkway North students go to RYLA?
not that I know of, I didn't meet any while I was there.
No, I mean, the previous year.
Not that I know of.
I don't
We
believe
wouldn't
so.
have a Rotary Club to sponsor it unless it'd been like a Rotarian relative.
Relative or something.
And then how I would definitely recommend RYLA to anybody who really wants to do it personally, because I really had a good time. I made a lot of friends. I'm still talking to them now, like we've been texting the past few weeks and stuff like that, which is really awesome. And on top of all that, I learned a lot of new skills that I did not know. And I also got to sharpen skills that I already had. And I feel like that's already helped me with stuff with my job, with my volunteering, with my friends and my family. It's just made things a whole heck of a lot easier.
What are you looking for beyond Parkway North?
Being at Parkway North, what I'm looking forward to.
Afterwards, like next year.
Afterwards? I'm trying to go to college. I'm looking at a few places, not sure exactly where yet, leaning towards Mizzou. I'm planning on going to college for psychology and hope maybe double majoring in psychology and business so that when I hopefully get my PhD later on down the line, I'll be able to have my own private practice.
Pretty good goal.
Would you, they've heard it before from me, but would you explain just to them some of the things you talked about, the leadership, the youth programs, on how we educate you, all the students about Rotary?
Yeah, so we had like these Rotary moments as we were going through the whole program where they would tell us about little bits and different parts of Rotary. And then it would be different stuff like how you get in contact with your Rotarians and how you can set up service projects, how you can go overseas for studying abroad and really immersing yourself in other cultures and kind of learning about stuff like that and other leadership opportunities. That's the first few that are coming to mind. But yeah, we learned a lot about all the different leadership opportunities that are available to us, which, like I said before, I did not realize how many of them were available. I kind of thought it was maybe like 1 or 2 things, and now I'm like, wow, there's like a whole pool of them. Did not know that. So it was very eye-opening, I think. It was really awesome. I really enjoyed it.
One of the activities was speed dating with a Rotarian,
Oh, right. That.
and that's not exactly what it sounds like it is.
More like speed
That
meeting.
sounds pretty bad.
There you go.
It was speed meeting.
Speed meeting, there we go.
Yes.
I have to
Much better.
ask for you. Yeah. Yes, yes. So tell us about that.
So we got about 7 minutes, and we had each of the Rotarians walking around the different tables that we had in the hall we were in. And we got 5 minutes to ask them questions, and they got about 2 minutes. No, it was 4 minutes we got to ask them questions, and they got 3 minutes to ask us questions. So we're asking them stuff like, what are your passions? What are the issues that pain your heart? What have you done in service projects wise? Like what's your old job? Where do you work? Or like, what was your old job if they're retired? And other stuff like that. Sometimes we get more personal, ask them about their family life, what they like to do for fun, stuff like that. Just kind of get to know the person a little bit. Because then we could also interview them for our little service project presentation thing, and we could ask for their advice on stuff like that, which we ended up asking for advice from a few people, and we got some really good stuff. Any other questions?
They've heard a lot about the Bible from me for some reason.
Yeah, I can't tell, couldn't figure that out.
Jerry, you've met your match. I'm just saying.
I know, that's fantastic, that's very good.
I think we should put you on the speaker circuit through the district, and you can start talking to the other clubs and explaining what it's about. And I'm not being overly sarcastic. You did a great job.
For him,
Yay!
it's not over.
No, for me, it's not.
Woo! Yes.
The table that you sat at
Yes.
with the other individuals that attended, where would did they ever explain to you or even expand on where they were from and what parts of the state
Yeah.
they came from? I like to hear a little about that.
Yeah, so most all of us at RYLA, all of us students, we all kind of, one of the first questions we kind of asked each other is, where are you from? What part of Missouri are you from? We try to find some commonalities there. I'm from St. Louis, it's a pretty big part. I found a lot of people from St. Louis. And I was like, wow, I did not know there was so many people there. I knew there was this many people there, but I didn't realize how many people. And I made a lot of friends from other places, a lot of KC and a lot of Springfield, and Jeff City, places like that. But I also, for some reason, I forgot how many small towns there are in Missouri. And I was like, wow, I'm from such little small little places. That's crazy.
They didn't ask you the famous question of St. Louis when high school you attended. Did they?
A few St. Louis people did. Yeah.
See.
When other people asked, I'd be like, are you from St. Louis? And they'd be like, well, no. And I'm like, well, here's my high school. Do you know where that is? They'd be like, no. I'm like, close enough. We'll figure it out someday. Look at all of you.
Did you realize that some of the smaller cities, the whole school district will probably have less students in your junior class now, senior class?
I think I realized that. Yeah, I've been to private school for most of the beginning of my schooling, so I was aware of smaller schools and stuff like that. I went when I was even like an 18-person school and then went to homeschool. So I've been in smaller school settings, so I kind of had the idea that, it is a smaller town. There's probably not going to be that many people in the school. But I was still kind of astonished by how small the schools got, thinking of the fact that it's an entire small town going to one school. I was like, wow, that is smaller than I thought that would be for an entire town.
Yeah, I was on a school board for quite a few years, and meeting school administration across the Midwest. I met one guy a couple months ago that he was a superintendent of the school district and on-call bus driver too, when he needed it.
Yeah.
Like Bell City.
The bus driver shortage has been bananas. I've got a few more friends home than I thought I would this year. A lot of people, they have gas money.
For RYLA are rising sophomores.
Rising sophomores, juniors, and it actually expanded COVID year to rising seniors.
Okay.
Prior to COVID, we would not have been eligible because the return, as it's explained to Rotarians, the return on investment, especially at your school as a rising senior, they would have only had you for 1 year. Had you been a rising junior, then you could be there for 2 more years. And I don't know if Emily knows this yet or not, but Matt Alonso, who teacher has said we need to get an interactive like that.
Good.
So I think he's,
We got some pretty cool people over there. Y'all need to get in on this.
well, and that's.
It only took us 75 years to get out this before.
Give us time, you know.
So,
Next
and
week.
and they did learn that Interact clubs are sponsored by the Rotary clubs of the area, so that's always been one of our goals, to do that. Couldn't ever make it happen with her, so that was one of my big disappointments. I don't think it happened.
I do think it would be really successful at Parkway North. I have a lot of friends at Parkway North who are very interested in leadership and in bettering themselves and their community. One of my friends, she strictly wants to become an environmental activist. She wants to go to college for environmental science and then just go straight in with environmental protection projects, stuff like that. She doesn't know exactly where she's going, but she knows what she wants to do to help the world. So I know a lot of people like that. So you guys should definitely consider putting an Interact in at Parkway North. We got some pretty cool people, and we got a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, and it's definitely a very cool, diverse place.
Work on Mr. Alonso to become the Interact sponsor.
There we go.
We can make that happen.
Can he get here before school starts and come to one of our meetings?
He was going to do some traveling, but I'll reach out to him. I'll be happy to reach out to him. So
Maybe a Zoom call.
maybe a Zoom, yeah, we can do a Zoom one. That would be great.
Post-COVID, we have the ability to go everywhere.
We do, and you are actually, I guess we should have asked for permission before. No,
Yeah.
you're being recorded and it's going to be up on YouTube.
Yep, we have a YouTube channel.
Hello, YouTube.
Rotary was actually on Jeopardy indirectly yesterday.
I heard that.
Yeah.
It was the wrong
It was
answer,
the
but
wrong answer, but it was, Key Club is a club for high school age students sponsored by Watt International Service Organization. And one person rang in and said Rotary, and which of course was wrong, and nobody else had a clue, so nobody else rang in, but it was Kiwanis. Of course, it's KKK. Yeah, not KKK. The last name is Club's both. There we go.
Did you pause that out of the?
Yeah, I'll try it at this point.
which Rotary neither supports
Nor defend.
or
No,
endorses.
not the rail.
How do you go about your own process of doing service projects, and what type of service projects would you process in order for you to take part in?
That's a loaded question.
For a loaded answer.
Loaded, okay. I think a service project that I'd be, so I'm very passionate about mental health awareness and stuff like
Okay.
that, especially because I am looking at going into the psychology field. And one of the things that I've always seen is kind of something that's not good for our community and honestly kind of it's unfair, is how hard it is to get mental health help. It's really hard to, not only is therapy very expensive, but it's also not very abundant. It's really hard to find it. And it's also very hard to find good therapists. And I think one of the things that I would love to do is maybe find a group of people who are educated and hopefully certified in therapy of some sort, clinical, marriage, any sort of therapy, and have them devote some of their time to giving out therapy to people who really do need it, who really can't afford it. My father, he's a life coach, and he will give people about an hour and a half free trial to see if they really want to work with him and pay him the money that they do to do his job. And he told me a story about a man that he met while he was away on a business trip of some sort. And he met this guy, and this guy had just lost his job. He was homeless. He did not know where he was going with his life. He knew what he wanted to do, but he also had no idea how to do it, and he really needed the help. So he goes up to my dad and contacts him, and he's like, listen, I can't afford your stuff, but can I do the free trial? And my dad got it out of the way right at the beginning. He was like, listen, we don't have time to chit chat about money and stuff, because I know for a fact you're not gonna be able to afford this. You said that to me multiple times. You don't even know us. So let's do the most that we can in this hour and a half that we have. And that guy, I don't know where he is now, but I know that my father told him success leaves clues, stuff like that, and my dad said that right after that, he definitely showed significant improvement, and from what he's heard, he's definitely doing better. And stuff like that it's priceless, and it's crazy that we put such a large price on it and that it's so unavailable. People really do need it. I mean, I have a lot of friends who unfortunately don't have a lot of money at their disposal, and they definitely need some form of psychological help, whether it's because of past trauma or just because of some sort of psychological development issue. They need help. People need help. And
If you look at the population of Parkway North, what do you think percentage of the students need help?
well,
I know it's a guess. Okay?
it's definitely a guess. Somewhere, I hope it's not 50%. I'm gonna go with somewhere around maybe 40-45%. It's definitely a lot.
And what are you seeing them needing help in? What
Well,
areas?
I think one of the things I'm seeing the most help needed, especially at least in my age group, is a lot of people are very lost. A lot of people don't know about their identity, and with all the new identity labels coming out, it's making it hard to figure out who you are as a
You're
person.
talking about the sexual identity.
Well, that's part of it, but there's just a lot of other things in there with all these new mental illnesses that people are finding out, and people self-diagnosing themselves a lot. I have a few friends who are like, I found this out on WebMD and I think I might have this. I'm like, but that's pretty broad. It's kind of like a zodiac sign. Like it could apply to anybody if you really wanted it to, you know? And
So social media is driving more than really should.
oh yeah, social media is not helpful in a lot of cases. I think that it's definitely helpful when it comes to reaching people, but it's unhelpful when you just become very passive on it and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and comparing and scrolling. And it's extremely unhealthy mentally. And I think these are things that can be addressed if stuff like therapy, or at least stuff similar to it, were more available for people to have access to. So that way they could, if they really wanted help, really could be able to reach out and ask for it.
So will some of these things solve themselves with maturity?
I think some of them will, but that's also assuming that people will mature, unfortunately.
Okay, what age do you see them maturing now?
I think that just depends on when people really dive into
Correct.
reality and stuff like that. Yes.
You know, you touched on a few points. Besides being a retired military, I'm also an ex-teacher and a coach. And you have hit on many of my passions, just to let you know. So I want to say thank you. But most importantly, with mental health and the origin of mental health. What about at Parkway North? Because I know many other high schools around the country and universities and colleges are going towards focus groups, towards mental health. What about if you thought or tried to put into play a focus group at Parkway North to sit and discuss the actual problems of the day of this era that we are walking into that is not consumable of what you just mentioned? So having a focus group or sitting down with many of your peers and having logical, consistent conversation. What do you think about that?
I think that definitely sounds like a good idea. I think that sounds actually a lot like one of my my government class I actually took this year. We were very guilty of, we were actually very ahead, but we would sometimes get a little bit behind occasionally because we would start talking about what was going on in the world at the beginning of class, and then we just wouldn't stop. And I think it was definitely very eye-opening, because even though a lot of us had some similar views, we also, some of us had very different views. And I think that's one of the things that we sometimes shy away from, especially with social media. We just like to get this little echo chamber of only hearing what we like to hear. And
No, go ahead.
and I think a focus group would definitely be a good opportunity to not only touch on things that are considered more taboo and stuff that we not supposed to talk about in school, like politics and just overall really bad world problems and stuff like that, but also just be able to open up the horizons of maybe like what we know, what we don't know, how to get to know people better, and how to just maybe fix our views a little bit more and make them, how do I say this? Find a way to not be stuck in our little box of our little views and be able to kind of understand, okay, other people think differently, and that's okay.
I am from the northeast portion of the country. Okay? No, not really. I got my own dictionary, it's called Brooklynese, just let you know. Okay? But you made a very interesting point. You got to think outside the box. And when you're thinking outside the box, then you're able to resolve and concur what resolve meant. And there was one portion that you were saying that I found very interesting as well, is that you as an individual and as a lady, okay, have that vision of what you want to do and where you want to go. So my question along with that vision of where you want to go and what you want to do, where you want to attain, have you ever thought about the monetary sense of it, or where you want to go to Tigertown, or University of Missouri? Have you thought about that?
Like how much, like how much money to go there?
Yes.
I have. I've been working really hard on fixing my SATs, my ACT score, my SAT score up, so that way I can get more money off, as well as keeping out scholarships, honor course, stuff like that. I definitely, my parents have graciously told me, okay, we'll give you this much money, but only this much. Anything outside of that, you gotta figure it out on your own. Might go in debt, but I'm trying to avoid that as much as I can. So.
Good move. Good move. I want to say thank you. And thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
A little bit different story somewhat. I decided to kind of look for barbershops. And last month I went to the new barbershop on Flagg Road. And it's right next to Baskin Robbins.
I went there 57 years ago.
Did you? Well, anyway, same guy.
Same guy.
No, this guy. But anyway, he was telling me that, they have this Ledoux Junior High that's up the street. He said they have these kids come down to Baskin Robbins. At the after school. He said there could be 100 of them there or whatever. But he said in the last 2 or 3 years, the behavior of the students has changed. Man,
They got better.
oh no. He said they'll come up and put their face in the window, knock on our windows, go out to do something to them, and they're in their face. He said, and this man was, he was in his 50s, wasn't old and crazy. But I mean, the change of, I said, what do you think caused it? He said, they've never been told no. But that was an interesting comment, but just to see the change of behavior that he observed.
Well, but 2 years ago, structured behavior with COVID.
Right.
Sit at home, maybe.
So, did you notice at Parkway North, coming back from COVID, that their behavior had changed in students one way or another?
Oh, yes. After post-COVID, I saw a lot of my friends, a lot of grades dropping, a lot of more kind of sluggish, depressed behavior. A lot of my friends did not want to be there. Some of them had more deep struggles than that, but I have a lot of friends who they have 4.0s or at least somewhere around 3.5 their freshman year. Sophomore year comes around, grade drops down to like a 1.8. And I have friends who are still.
Because of the online programs or?
Well, that was a part of it, but on top of that, like, I personally struggled with this. There was just it just felt like there wasn't any point to do it. It was kind of like, I could do this.
Parkway North prepared for online?
I think that we were as prepared as we could have been.
Do you think it was also a portion of the social content as well, of the social interactive, right, between student, between faculty member, student between support staff member, with that you didn't have the continuity of the interaction between each other in the classroom, out of the classroom, and also your social activities as well. Do you think that would be a great portion of it as well?
I think that that's definitely a portion of it.
Yes.
Me personally, I'm a huge extrovert. I love people. I don't know if I can survive that without people. COVID was not a fun time for me. I would get, me and a bunch of my friends talked about this actually not too long ago, but we would get these moments of like just not wanting to do anything and just kind of like existing kind of. And we would go to school and we do all the stuff, and we text each other, and we just felt so isolated, we were like, what's the point? And then after, when we actually finally got to go back to school, I was like, what was I doing? This is so much better.
See, to add to that, I have a cousin that is an athletic director at one of the largest high schools on Staten Island. And I had that conversation along with him. He said to me, you know, Al, it was so hard to get the motivation factor in and get the motivation factor out, where that was like pulling teeth out of a shark's mouth, you know, literally speaking. And I said, well, how did you go about it? He said, well, we did many things at the high school where that we wanted to get not only student involvement, but the faculty involvement and the parental involvement as well. Put all three into the box. I said, how did it work? He said, it worked pretty good. But to clarify what you're saying, it was a fact countrywide, nationwide. Within many districts, many schools, regardless if it's public, private, charter, non-denominational, denominational, parochial, didn't matter. That problem still remains today. So individuals like yourself, a figure point or a leader and a mentor to try to resolve that situation. So again, I want to say thank you to you.
Kind of interesting, my granddaughter's gonna be a second year at Denver, University of Denver, and she's been hired to be in the class to help the freshmen class come in. And last year they had a program when they came in with the COVID, and that was just kind of the beginning of the year.
Right.
And found out that didn't completely work, so she's now being hired. She will have a student she's tracking and meeting with weekly all semester, and that's how they've expanded their ability to try.
Exactly. Sure. The more involvement you have on the interaction portion of it with student to student, student to faculty, student faculty support staff, and also parental or significant others, okay, it's going to make the revolving door not revolve as much, and you're going to find out you're going to have a much more.
Well, they're all worried about retention, though.
Well, you know what, even with that, I mean, even with retention, okay, you're gonna have more of a suitable situation within the confines of the building.
I think.
And that's where you come into play, right there, to have that suitable understanding of comfortability and resolve.
I think the biggest thing that we really need to form in schools, especially post-COVID, is a community.
Mhm.
I think community is a big thing, because
It is.
everybody wants community. That's why people go to church. That's why people go to spin classes, I guess, because you make friends there. That's why people do what they do and go to the clubs that they go to, book clubs, and meet up with friends. And why people like my grandma go and walk at the mall with all of her other old lady friends. Not trying to call y'all out, I'm just saying, but.
Careful.
Easy on the old.
Did they teach that or what?
Yes, sir, we did.
But we need to form communities in these places, and we need to make it an open and welcoming place where people can just be people and socialize and make friends and really connect with others. Because I feel like that was one of the things that we had the biggest deficit of during COVID. People didn't see each other, and we didn't get to connect on person. We didn't get to we didn't see body language. We didn't. Sometimes you were just texting, so you don't hear tone. You don't really get to socialize with somebody through that way, which is another reason why I didn't text people that much, because I found it exhausting. And then I was like, maybe that was a bad idea looking back. But aside from that, I think that we really just need to work on forming communities in school settings, especially, but just in general, because.
You know, I know it's really cool that you brought up about texting, because if you miss that word or that paragraph, that sentence, then it goes astray. When you have the personal connection of verbalization or face-to-face, then it's a totally different situation, because then you can communicate and also get to the bottom line of what the actual situation actually is. I'm very delighted that you were here. I'm very delighted of what you said and how you put forth your presentation. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, just sort of some numbers and then a few closing comments here. This year, both academies at RYLA District 60 sent 46 students, which was a record. 7 Rotarian volunteers, which was a record. 3 educators, that was not necessarily a record, but as far as the other districts, 60-40 had 53 students, 5 Rotarian volunteers, and 8 educators. And that kind of makes sense because the original folks, Kansas City is where it started, and they made a lot of connections with school counselors there in Kansas City, but it's spreading, and I'm glad to see that. And then the 8 educators, 60-80, 76 students. I'll tell you about that in a second. 5 Rotarian volunteers, 2 educator volunteers. So 175 students, which is an all-time record. Not bad for the 30th anniversary of RYLA. The reason 60-80 had so many students is they had a program that if you gained so many members, the district would fund a RYLA student for you, for your club. So that was very, very interesting.
Were there any students that came from Illinois? 'Cause they had, I saw some email or something about where.
We were making it available. I don't think anybody did, and nobody did from 6110. That's the deep corner of south. We did have a Rotarian from 6510, the Illinois side, who was there as a Rotarian volunteer. He was there, David Vale, I think his name is. He's their youth exchange officer. So a couple of things. I checked into, we talked up as a board about a gun safety program that would be denied because Rotary is guns, they don't even want to bring it up. It's kind of like some other things. So, and there is a sign down the street on Dorset that somebody has a portion of Dorset for cleaning. We've talked about picking up litter, but I'm still going to work on that and call. Let's see. Next week, Marlena is going to be our guest. So, and she's going to speak. She and I talked about it. And it's Ruth's week. That's very good. Dave has August 3rd. Mary has August 10th. Carolyn has
Dave has August 10th. Just saying, Dave has August 3rd.
Dave has August 10th. Carolyn has the 17th. Bill, you have the 24th of August. But I've got several names here that Al has been gathering for us. You got some, that's great. 50-50 drawing, and then I have a special drawing, a special quiz. Oh, Emily, this is your ticket. So if he calls your number, there's no booty box.
If he calls your number, you're only halfway there.
That's right. If he calls your number, you're halfway there.
Maybe 5% of
Yeah, depends on how many cards you still.
Every night we would have attendance prize drawings, and the student could pick a visible prize or something from
That's
the
3
booty
numbers.
box. An invisible prize.
184.
Right after me.
184.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Oh, it's not mine, it's,
Is it Brian?
Brian, all right.
There it goes.
So are you feeling lucky today?
All right,
Because check.
nothing up my sleeve. Nothing up your sleeve. So close.
Okay. My quiz in the bulletin under the groaners, and Dave has disqualified himself. So says there was several quotes in there, but this one really was interesting. When somebody tells you nothing is impossible, ask him to do what?
dribble a football.
Dribble a football is exactly right. And Mr. Bill, this did not come out of my basement closet. This is fresh from the Houston convention. It is a Rotary umbrella.
Oh.
The first winner of our weekly, maybe monthly, depending on
Do I need to
prices.
make it harder or easier? Which one?
Oh, yeah, that's
I
great.
really like that one. That's why I remember it.
Yeah, okay, very good.
You know, the internet is a wonderful thing. You just put in some Google searches and amazing what you come up with.
Yeah.
Would dribble football.
No, I put in dad quotes is what I.
And before we leave, we'll all stand and say the four-way test, please. Mitch, would you start us out and get us going? Okay. Of the things we think, say, and do, number one, is it the truth? Two, is it beneficial to all concerned? Three, will it bring goodwill and better friendships? And four, did I get them out of order?
Yeah, you did.
I did, okay. Well, what's the fourth one?
Throw a screen up there.
You already said the fourth one.
I did?
Yeah, here,
What's the one I'm missing?
let's try it off of that.
Okay, there we go. I didn't have my coin with me. And is it fair to all concerned? So there we go.
Is it the truth? Is it beneficial? Will it build goodwill? And is it fair?
That's correct. All right, very good.
In Dallas, we are